Arne Slot is a new favourite to take over as manager of Liverpool. I did an Arne Slot video back in FM23, and over the last 24 to 48 hours, the video's gained a little bit of traction. So I thought, right, let's update it. It's a year's past. They've lost a key player at Feyenoord, and I'm going to show you, first of all, how his Feyenoord team sets up, his philosophies, his key principles, and then towards the end, we'll have a little look and see how it suits Liverpool. And the more I've looked into it, the more it suits Liverpool fans. I think they could be really more excited than what they would have been if it was Ruben Amorim coming through the door at Anfield. All right, guys, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing, just to have a look, like last season they were champions, an absolute incredible season. This year they're not going to be champions, which you think a little bit of a fall off. But in terms of numbers, 25, 7 and 2. For the games won, drawn and lost. And then on this season, they're on 22, 6 and 2. The 9 points off PSV, who have just had an incredible season. Last season, they scored 81 goals, conceded 30. So they're on for probably scoring more goals, definitely, and conceding less and getting more points. And it's just because of that incredible season from PSV that they're not champions again. They've also just won the Dutch Cup as well, so not trophyless this season. And losing what I consider their best player in Cocu, big fan of him, moved to Benfica, so they've lost that little bit of playmaking, which they've then had to change around in very different roles and players. Okay, so the general playing style is obviously high in possession. They dominate most games, all games in the Eredivisie, but one thing they're looking at is high intensity when they lose the ball. So counter-pressing, high line, very aggressive, sort of like the old school Klopp. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp's brought it down a bit. It'll be interesting to see what Slot does, whether he just brings down his press a little bit, but really aggressive. Their 6-0 win. I am going to leave a link down to the 6-0 highlight, smashing Ajax a couple of weeks ago. I think 5 out of the 6 goals all come from winning the ball in the final third. So really key, really high intensity, and a couple of issues that we might have once again with that man, Mo Salah. But if we look at the team sequencing style, gives you a good idea of how they play. So right down in the corner, you can see Ajax, slow and intricate, really possession-based. And as you can see, Feyenoord there, currently ranked 4th for pass per sequence. So obviously gaining a lot of possession, have a lot of possession numbers, play against teams with low blocks. But when they can, they do like to break with a little bit of speed, especially in the wide areas, and Jimenez playing as a classic number 9 up front. They're also ranked 1st in the Eredivisie for goal-ending turnovers, really aggressive press in that final third. With their PPDA numbers, as you'd expect, really good, 10.2, second only to champions in waiting, PSV. So 4-3-3 stroke 4-2-3-1, but with the suitability of Liverpool squad, I do think he'll probably go down the route of a 4-3-3. Now, it rotates between a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3 a lot. And if we look at the passing network from the game against Ajax, as you could see, we've got a holding midfielder. Stengs and Timber are playing as the sort of like the 2-8. Stengs is very much an attacking player. Timber is more of that box-to-box threat. They've got Vifa, who's doing a lot more of the sitting role this year with the loss of Cocu. And as you can see, now Gertrude is an interesting one. I think they would like to play Hartman there a lot of the time. He's a more natural left-back. Obviously, when Gertrude plays there, he's a right-footed centre-back / right-back. So naturally, he's going to come in a little bit more. But they do like to play inverted. They do like to build up with a 2-3 or a 3-2. And their fullbacks are not overly aggressive. They like to be within that first phase of build-up. There's another example. Look, the 2 centre-halves there in Bielan and Hanko, Vifa. And we've got Hartman on that left-hand side, more of a regular sort of like wing-back, full-back. Then you can see Gertrude on that right-hand side, really tucking in. That is going to help with the counter-press. So what makes a good counter-press? The team needs to be compact. If the team is overly wide, it's not going to work. So this is a screenshot of an attack against Hercules a couple of weeks ago, and it's just a prime example of what happens when they lose the ball. So if there's a loss of possession, they've always got 3 or 4 bodies in that central area to really win that ball back. Now, if we look at the heat map again, as you can see, there's always that one player. It's generally Minter who plays that more of a traditional winger role, but everyone else becomes quite narrow. Excellent in the counter-press. Players like Timber in particular, Vifa, really good at pressing and harassing, really aggressive. So that's one thing we're definitely going to focus on. And we can only get that if we play with a narrow shape. If we play with a really wide shape, with 2 wingers really wide, high wide fullbacks, we're going to really struggle when we get counter-attack. Think Manchester United, that massive gap in the midfield, no one sitting, very wide on both wings. We're really going to narrow that up, even when we're in possession. All right, so how does it look in FM24? Now, for all my Patreons, there is a link down in the description right now. You can go and download this tactic, copy it in, and put it into your FM24 folder. If you would like to support me as a creator and get the tactics every single week, as a direct download, please check out the Patreon link down in the description. Everyone else, don't worry, we're going to go through some of the player roles, player positions, everything, so you can copy it into your own FM save yourself. Okay, so back four. Now, goalkeeper, sweeper keeper on support. They like to build out from the back, very rarely goes long. I think in the win against Ajax, the most passes the goalkeeper did was to the right centre-half, which was Bielan. So we're going to use that as an example, playing out from the back, sweeper keeper on support. And obviously we'll change a couple of the roles in transition as well. Gertrude has played everywhere. In the game against Ajax, he played as a left full-back. He's played centre-half. However, his strongest position and the most common position this season has been as a right-back. Now, depending on your opponent, there's a couple of games, and in particular, the game against Hercules, playing against a team with a low deep block. As you can see, he's made a forward run, really narrow once again. So if there's that loss of possession, load of bodies to try and win the ball back. But there you can see Gertrude, number 4, right in there, quite attacking. That also then obviously drags in the left fullback to follow his run, and that leaves Minter on the right hand side. And as you can see, he's then in a position, and then the ball goes into Gertrude. He sips little dummy, and Minter's free and makes it 1-0. So with that in mind, you do need to change his role. I think generally, he'll play. Trent will be great in this role, won't he? Trent will be absolutely fantastic. So inverted wing back on defend, by all means, playing against low block. If you want really someone to really break the lines a little bit, put it on attack, depending on your opponent. Bielan would be just a ball-playing defender, and defender says the ball goes into him a lot. When they can and when they get the opportunity, he does like to clip balls over the top. If we can find Jimenez in behind, they will try that. Doesn't happen a great deal, but they've definitely got the quality to do that. Left-hand side, Hanko is very aggressive left back. He plays like sometimes he's in like a wide centre-back. We can't put that into a back four. However, I've made a couple of things to put in, player instructions. Dribble more, excellent dribbler, progressive dribbler. Really, I think 99% percentile in the division for dribbles. And then stay wider, just so in possession, he will come into this left-back slot. He's often in the penalty area as well. He's really crazy. I was thinking Libero, they're quite clever when in terms of Hanko's movements. If he does go, then Gertrude normally sits in to make another centre-half. They don't leave Bielan or, is it Traunu, the veteran Austrian defender. They don't often leave him isolated at the back. Left back, Hartman, depending on the opponent again and the personnel out, this is just Andy Robertson all day long. Can play wing back, can play full back. You could change that. Full back on attack, wing back on support, full back on support. I just wanted him full back on support because he does often help him build up. You don't see him really high in build-up. It's not like an Alphonso Davies kind of fullback where they go and press, where they go and push up in the first line of build-up. He's often in and around it as an option when they play out from the back. Now, Vifa's an interesting one. Last year, he was pretty much a box-to-box midfielder. I think he is a player, and this is potentially a role that Liverpool might need to strengthen in. So, can McAllister do that DM role as a defensive midfielder? Absolutely yes, as DLP. But the only thing that I would say is physicality. He's 6'2", and he has decent numbers in terms of tackles and, what you would want that holding midfielder to do. Think Fabinho in his prime. Now, McAllister has really good pressing numbers and winning numbers, but if he just wants a defensive midfielder with a little bit more physicality in terms of height, then Vifa would be the man. And without being too lazy, I think Liverpool potentially would maybe look at getting someone in like a Vifa to fill that role. It's not an out-and-out creator. It's not the absolute creative force in the team. Last year, everything went through Koku at Feyenoord. Not the case this year, but Vifa is doing incredibly well in finding, once again, Jimenez over the top, or even at times looking for players like Timber who are really aggressive. And then the middle two. Now, this is where it could become a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, but I do think the two roles, and once again, do Liverpool need to get an out-and-out number 8? And if you look at Timber's FB chart, as you can see straight away, really good in the possession phase, but not in the passes attempted. He's down in the 11th percentile, really low down with numbers in terms of passing and passes attempted. However, progressive passes are good when he does do it, so he's looking forward thinking. Progressive carries and successful take-ons, touches in the penalty area, and progressive passes received. That one is really key. And as you can see, he's circled right here in this screenshot. It's the Hercules game again. So we've got the two centre-halves. We've got the two fullbacks, Gertrude coming in quite narrow, the number 4, and then Hartman's just over on that left-hand side. The sitting midfielder, Vifa's playing more of the number 8 this time. Striker come in short to receive. The left winger has actually stayed quite wide, and then as you can see, Timber is really high. He's the furthest, pretty much nearly the furthest man forward. So with that, you can see why he gets progressive passes received. And then the following screenshot is actually a long ball that's gone over the top and he's cheered. So with that in mind, I was thinking you could probably do it another way. You could probably use him as a volante on attack if you wanted to do that double pivot with Stengs maybe in as the number 10. But to get that balance between the heat map as well, between Timber and Stengs, generally left and right of the sort of like the midfield, we've gone box-to-box midfielder with Timber. Because of those pressive carries number, get further forward. Dribble more. Get further forward so he gets into that penalty area. Remember, touches in the penalty area were really high. And then tackle harder. Absolute tremendous off the ball, hunting down, pressing really high. Now, Stengs is probably the question mark. I've kind of done this because I kind of thought Slobozai would probably be good at this. Is this sort of like 8/10 kind of midfielder that's decent off the ball. So Stengs, we've gone central midfielder on attack. Take more risks and stay wider. He's not absolutely massive with progressive carries and successful take-ons. So a little bit of difference between him and potentially Slobozai, who likes to carry the ball. But I think he would fit in Slobozai into an Arne Slot tactic absolutely fine and do that sort of like 8-10 role that he currently has Stengs doing at Feyenoord. So Stengs, central midfield on attack, take more risks, stay wider, so just can work in his right half space a little bit because on the right-hand side, they're playing Minter, who is actually on loan from, I think he's on loan from Newcastle. Yeah, he's on loan from Newcastle. Very pacey, left-footed. He's the one that generally in those passing networks is the option out wide. A lot of goals recently. The goal that I showed you, the Hercules one, I'll put it up now, the screenshot, coming in from the right and tapping in. Scored a goal as well in the cup, I think it was. Coming in on that left-hand side and sort of like floating it into the top corner. So, winger on attack, cut inside with the ball because we want him coming in on that left-hand side. Now, the left-hand side a little bit different. It's Paxao. Generally works in the half spaces. Now, when it is someone, where is he? There's this dude as well, who, even Nusek, is it? Also can play on that left-hand side. Very similar. Both like to, at times when the ball is out on the left, they will play wide, but generally like to come into this half space, and then it does allow maybe someone like Hartman to go around. It's maybe he's often dependent on who he's playing left back for Feyenoord. So Paxao, inverted winger on support. Can we get him in coming into these little half spaces, drifting off the left, maybe bringing in a fullback to maybe allow a Hartman to go round that side. And then up front, the centre forward, complete forward, Jimenez, he has improved with his back to goal. I think I made a video, I talked about him in last year about his back to goal play. Very simple. Does seem to want to come in a little bit more than last year. So Núñez, yes, we'll have to work with him definitely technically, but he's probably been doing a lot of work with Jimenez with his back to goal. So he's probably used to having someone who's a little bit raw up there, but centre forwards, complete forward on attack. Now, positive mentality, absolutely want to dominate games, keep the ball. You know, we're used to Liverpool will still want to do that next year. And then for the attacking width, we've gone fairly narrow. The main reason for that is because we want them not to be so wide, because if there's that counter press and we lost a possession, we could counter press a lot better and we could transition. He realises how dangerous high turnovers can be. We need to be fairly compact with the ball, so then when we do lose it, we're all closer together. That's why we've got fairly narrow, and we'll still have Minter on that right-hand side, just holding a little bit of width. Fairly basic, shorter passing, just so we get those possession numbers up higher, and then at times, if a team's playing with a high line, click that on because they do like to exploit Jimenez at times. We'll do it anyway. DLP on support will naturally look for those balls over the top, so I've not got that on. Feyenoord this season are ranking 20th, so the last in the division for the number of balls into the box being crosses. I think they're really low down at like 22% of passes into the box being crosses. So we've got work into the box on. In transition, counter press, yes. Absolutely key style of his get the ball back as quickly as possible. High intensity. One of Slot's favoured quotes was, he wants two ways to win a football game. If we're not as good technically as the other team, if we can't beat them technically, we're going to try and beat them by outrunning them, outpowering them. So having that counter press on. Remember that highlight link down in the description for that Ajax game. Go check it out. Like the first highlight within the first minute, absolutely tremendous, with Timber going out, closing down the right back, and then loads of other high turnovers. So we want that counter press, countering on, take short kicks, and I'm distributing to the right centre-half. Most of the balls are games against Ajax. Even though Hanko's really good on the ball, the left-sided centre-half, the first phase, the first pass often went from the goalkeeper to the right centre-half. That combination was 12 passes. The combination from the goalkeeper to Hanko, the left centre-back, was only 6 passes. So that's why I've done that on, but you could just do the basic distribute to centre-backs if you want to. Out of possession, remember, he wants to outrun, outwork teams. So we're much higher line, high press, so we can have them high turnovers. Remember, shot-ending turnovers or goal-ending turnovers, highest in the division. So we're going to have that on. Trigger press more often, yes. With get stuck in, really aggressive. Timber, Vifa, really good off the ball, really aggressive. Might rack up some cards, but that's okay. And then step up more, so we're really in, really aggressive in that press. And then just a few little things to show you within FM. We've beat PSV in the Super Cup at the start of the season. Not massive in terms of possession. We'd maybe expect PSV to outdo his possession, but we absolutely dominated the game in terms of XG. Look, they only had 4 shots. We had 15, 10 on target, and XG of 1.66, so a deserved win. And then we've opened the campaign, a 2-0 win over Fortuna Sittard, which we'd expect, but I'm just going to show you this goal, and it actually comes right from kickoff. So the ball's played back into the centre half, and then we're just going to watch the move of Timber. Getting high, nice high position, into Jimenez, who's dropping off and working with his back to goal, spinning in Paxao, who's coming really narrow, and finishes extremely well. And then this one is all about Timber when we want those forwards runs. Remember them little screenshots that I showed you? This time, working down the left, and he's made a forward run, look, in that little space that's been left. In he goes. Lovely pick out from Vifa as well as that deep line playmaker on support. And here's another goal. Jimenez, the goal scorer. Once again, Timber, where is he? Absolutely key. He gets the assist. Hanko, stay wider, in possession, dribble more. Driving into that midfield. Gets a little pass into Paxao, who's held the width because the ball's on the left-hand side. Look at Timber now, exploiting that gap between the centre-half and the full-back. We're going to little pass in, drives to the line, and then Jimenez is in there as that complete forward on attack. Now, how does this tactic look with Liverpool? Okay, so this is the tactic with the Liverpool team. Now, the back four is brilliant. No problems at all. Obviously, they're going to need to do something a little bit with maybe a long-term replacement for Van Dijk. But the back four, the back five, Trent going in there, absolutely fine. You know, on those days when he can attack, he's going to love drifting to those areas. The midfield's an interesting one. Liverpool fans, obviously, I think Slobozai would be able to do that Stengs role, that 8-10. The DLP, is McAllister physical enough? I think he's physical when the ball's on the ground with these sort of like low duels, but then does Slot want someone a little bit more aggressive in terms of physicality? So that'll be interesting. If they did, what would they do with McAllister? They would then I think what they would need to do is, if they are going to go down the route of having McAllister as that more defensive player and that sitter and that creator, what would they do with that box-to-box midfielder? I think then they would need to go down someone. You know, is Jones physical enough? Would they want another 8? Would they give Gravenberch a go in there? Interested Liverpool fans, let me know your thoughts. Left-hand side is kind of sorted with Diaz. Centre-forward is kind of sorted with Nunes, but he would need a lot of work, and Gatko as well can kind of do those dual rows, a little bit of rotation. The right wing. Now, I talked about this potentially with the Amarin tactic. Mo Salah is going to be he's going to be an issue. He is not a great presser. He's also at that age where we think that if he doesn't stay this year, if he doesn't leave in the summer, he's definitely going to leave the summer after. With Saudi interested, I would be selling him for 100 million, and then you can reinvest in the squad with some maybe another, central midfielder and then a wide player. I've got a couple of ideas. Winger on attack that can cut in on the left foot. Now, my first instance would be someone like Jared Bowen, who would be great off the ball. Remember, they're really key in terms of pressing. So he would be really good. However, I do think he's signed a new deal at West Ham, right? So whether he would still be interested, I don't know. That could soon change with a big bid from Liverpool. Neto as well might be a little bit of an interesting one at Wolves, but generally doesn't stay fit. So we're looking at a right winger that could potentially play on that right-hand side. Now, obviously, these are all the attacking left and right players in the game that have a favoured foot of left foot. So, like, Saka would be amazing. But there's a couple of interesting ones. Rafinha potentially at Barcelona. As I said, there's Marcus Edwards as well. Elise, but he's not a great presser. Could he be a good presser under someone else? He's kind of not amazing off the ball. Jared Bowen that we spoke about. Kang In Lee at PSG would be a good one, but obviously probably not going to be available. And then what about this boy, Johan Bakayoko, who's had a tremendous season with the champions, PSV. All right, guys, so that is it. Liverpool fans, if he can get it right and he doesn't do what the United manager did, I think there's a little bit of a worry that he's coming from the Eredivisie. He's dominated that like Ten Hag has done in terms of football for the last couple of years, and then he's going to come and not be great. But he needs to stick to his principles. Liverpool will obviously do their homework. I think the squad is set up pretty well to go straight at it. Couple of signings in the summer. Doesn't need a big rebuild like maybe an Amorim tactic would do because of that three at the back and the adjustments made. Make some money on Mo Salah. Dominate games. Highly aggressive. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Smash the like on today's video and we'll see you later.